You know, when your house gets raided from the age of 11 upwards, 10 upwards, and you see police raiding your house, it's not something that I want, right?
This is Blizzcon. It is the biggest celebration in the world of games like Overwatch, World of Warcraft and Hearthstone.
Blizzcon is the best event of the year.
And we've got 30,000 people that have come from all over the world.
But among those thousands is one player with a very unusual story. What were your earliest memories?
I remember travelling a lot with Mum.
Yep.
We travelled around Australia about 3 or 4 times in a car. Mm-hmm. All I remember is sort of being in a Kingswood, and my game as a kid was the back seat it had a hole in the floor, and I used to watch the road. In hindsight, not that fun.
No.
But yeah, I used to watch the road. It was definitely not a normal upbringing. So I was always in like a new school. Every week it would be like new primary school. I sort of was getting old enough to realise what was going on. You know, you have police raiding your house and you're getting strip searched at the age of 9 or 10.
Did you understand what was going on?
I sort of realised a little bit later on in life, but at the time I was just like, why is this police lady taking my clothes off? You know what I mean? So, but yeah, it was definitely weird. My stepdad was one of the biggest heroin dealers in Australia. He'd been in and out of prison at this point for about 20 years of his life, but he must have been a great guy, I guess.
Because you said you felt protected by him.
Yeah, he was a heroin dealer, definitely involved in biker groups and stuff like that. But I never felt unsafe around him. You know what I mean? Like they try to separate the whole heroin dealing side of things and heroin abuse, except for when my mum and stepdad would be passed out or something like that, and then there's $20,000 that's laying on the ground, and I'm like, oh, okay. My stepdad got a 10-year sentence for attempted murder or something like that, or murder. So we left on like a boat. I just remember getting on a boat, and we went to Western Australia. So I guess he fled the charges.
You said that you didn't really know what he did for money at the time. You just knew that he changed his clothes a lot.
Yeah, no. That was so when we were travelling, right? So we had another guy that travelled with us for a little while. My stepdad and him would run into service stations, run back out, really panting, and then they'd burn their clothes or just get rid of them. And I was really confused. I was like, it's like a weird process. Let's just get gas. Maybe they spilt it on their shirt. And a little bit later on, I realised they were robbing the service station. So yeah, I was just sitting there with a packet of beef jerky, just going, this is fun. So that's where things sort of got like bad zone, I guess. So
what constitutes bad zone?
Well, so my mum and stepdad had never been to prison at the same time before. When we got to Western Australia, they got caught. They didn't really have anywhere to put me. And it was a really hard process because they put me into a kids' home for kids that are waiting to go to juvenile prison. It was like 2 dudes would beat you up every day, and they left me there for a year. And then sort of they found a foster care place for me to go very, very short. And that foster care was not a good thing either.
Why not?
I'll never forget in my life, it was Mother's Day, and I made a Mother's Day card for this lady who was meant to be like my foster mum. And I'll never forget, I walked up to her and I was like, oh, here you go, happy Mother's Day. And she looked at it, ripped it in half and said, I'm not your mum. And I was like, whoa, okay. And that's, I think, where a lot of reality kicked in.
So at a certain point, mum and stepdad do get out of prison.
Yeah.
And you end up settling in Sydney.
Yeah.
And you're like, great, finally this is going to work.
Yeah.
Except it doesn't happen like that, does it?
Not at all. We'd been there for about a week or two. And I remember I come home and they weren't home, and I was like, it'll be fine, they'll be home later. And I went to school the next day, same process, make lunch, get ready to go to school. Came home, no one's home, and I was like, interesting. So I kept doing it, and then eventually I came home and the locks had changed. So I thought there's sort of 2 processes I can do here. I can, one, go to the government, which is a little bit of a scary thing for me because obviously I'm scared that the same process will do. They'll throw me in a home again or make me a ward of state. So I thought I'll go and get a job. So I just went to like restaurants, paid I think $3.75 an hour as a first-year chef apprentice back then. And long story short, what I would do is I would wash my school uniform at work and wash my work uniform at school. And I'd pretty much just like, after I'd finish work, I'd go and like sleep in a park or something near school. Effectively, I guess, homeless, and just lived in a park near the school. And if kids from school saw me with a backpack and my skateboard, and that's pretty much all I had, and they were like, what the hell are you doing here? I was like, man, I was at the craziest party. You wouldn't believe it. Got too drunk, didn't want to go home. So they were like, classic Ryan. So yeah, I tried to ride that train out for as long as I could. So
Do you reckon you convinced them?
no. Hey, yeah, sure, dude. How you going?
Yo, you straight edge, yeah?
Yeah.
Me too.
Hey, it does, Steve. All right, so we're at the esports section for World of Warcraft, which is the game that I play. We got the esports gear here, which is electronic sports. I think I've been playing games for years. I don't know. I think it's that.
So, when does gaming come into that? Because you probably need a home to plug in the console.
Yeah, so it was never console. No, It's always PC. So there used to be a game called Diablo 2. And Diablo 2 had like a trade market. And eventually I remember just being at the internet cafe and one of our friends, Johnny, was like, hey, does anyone have this item? And everyone was like, no, I don't have it. And he's like, man, I'd pay like $50 for that item. And in my mind, I was like, would he really pay $50 for that item? And I became very good at buying and selling of what people wanted. So there was a girl, and she was a Canadian girl, and she said, you know, move to Canada with me and I'll pay for your flights and I'll pay for everything. I was working in Canada, and I was doing security work in Canada while I was there, because I was working as a bouncer for a long time here in Australia before I left. I was working in this place called Scotia Square, which was like the ghetto area of Halifax in Canada. Very, very bad area. We had, you know, shootings and stabbings every couple of weeks. I got really badly hurt while I was working security. So there was a guy, Sam, who owned like a little shop in the actual area, an old Korean guy. When I got hurt, he actually said, like, do the video game stuff, you're too funny to work. And then he gave me $5,000 when I got hurt and said, yo, try that, and if it doesn't work, come back to security. So that was sort of my starting platform, was Sam. He was definitely like a old Korean angel. Well, what you see there is what you see on stream. Daily ritual: wake up, shower, brush my teeth, pretty much turn the stream on, and then I tend to try and ride my motorbike a little bit as well.
Yep, need sunlight.
Yeah, exactly. They say. But yeah.
For the record, we opened those blinds. They were not open when we got there.
It's just a game that I love playing. I love the community. I'm Chinglish, and you guys are Team Pandemonium. My dream job, way before I started streaming or anything like that, was to actually be a youth worker. It's something that I've always wanted to do.
Yeah, Chinglish is awesome. Watch a stream.
For me, it was definitely about like having that sort of thing for other people. Like, I try and stream every Christmas Day. I try and stream on sort of the special days throughout the year, because I've been in a place in my life before where I've had to be by myself on Christmas, and it's not necessarily a fun thing to do. So I try and stream like on those days, just so people, if they don't have anyone to hang out with, they can at least turn the stream on and be like, hey, Ryan's there. So there's a guy that has the logo tattooed on him, and he said that, you know, both of his parents passed away, and he got the logo tattooed on him because when he was really, really depressed, he found the stream and it really helped him with the depression. So stuff like that is the biggest reason why I stream.
As you think back on that time, traveling around the country and the number of times you were sort of abandoned, is the predominant feeling anger?
I don't necessarily have anger. It's more of like, this sort of made me who I am. Yeah. You know what I mean? So I necessarily wouldn't change. Like, of course I would have loved to have the, you know, 9 to 5 working family, you know, where they come home and I'm home after school, my lunch is made the next day, but that's not what I have. You know what I mean? So me moving forward in life, if I look back at it as angry, that doesn't do anything for anyone.
Ryan, you're an absolute pleasure to talk to.
Thank you.